I'm Robert Blakemore and I manage Ecurie Bertelli, and I'm here to help support Adam from REVS. The car I brought today is a 1930 Aston Martin International. Okay, so Aston Martin started in about 1915, and they made a series of cars pre-war. They went bust the first time in about 1923, and then they were bought by Bertelli, Bert Bertelli, and he designed the cars. He was also owner of Aston Martin, and he raced them. And one of the first cars he manufactured was called the International. The Aston Martin International got its name because it could be competed with internationally. The car that I brought today, the Aston Martin International I brought today, was in fact raced at Brooklands in 1932 by somebody called Yallop. I did a couple of races there. The car was also modified by Aston Martin. It was fitted with a special exhaust system to get more power. The car was also fitted with improved filler caps at the front for the oil and for the water, which stopped them leaking. And it had a fuel tank built in which was bigger for longer races. One of the design flaws with the International was to refill it, you needed to remove the spare wheel. The fuel tank that was fitted had a different spout, so you could refuel it without taking your spare wheel off, which helps when you're racing. And a couple of other little modifications were done before it raced at Brooklands. The engine in this Aston Martin is 1.5 litre, producing about 80 brake horsepower at the moment. It's an all Aston Martin designed unit. It's a 4-cylinder with an overhead camshaft and what's called a cross-flow head, so the carburetor's on one side and the exhaust on the other, which was relatively advanced for its stage, for its time. It's also what's known as a dry sump engine, so the oil falls down into the engine like all cars, goes into the sump where it's pumped into a tank at the front and then back into the engine. So after it raced at Brooklands, it was then sold on, and it went through a number of owners. It fell into a state of disrepair, and then it was recovered and restored. It's currently owned by one of my Polish customers who races it, so he's taken it back on track. We've been with him to Silverstone with the Vintage Sports Car Club, to the Grand Prix circuit at Silverstone, where we've raced with Motor Racing Legends, and last year it raced at Spa as well in the 6-hour race meeting event. It was scheduled to go to Le Mans Classic this year. Unfortunately, that's was called off. So I run Ecurie Bertelli. We're based not far from here at Newport Pagnell. We are the world's specialist in pre-war Aston Martins. We do everything from making about nearly 1,000 spare parts to restorations, to service work. We do race and rally support, and we do car sales as well.
I'm driving a 1930 Aston Martin International that was raced by Yallop in 1932 at Brooklands, following some modifications by the works. It's got a 1.5 litre Aston Martin designed overhead cam engine, producing about 80 brake horsepower, 4-speed crash gearbox. Originally it would have had a centre thrust to help you change gear more easily. You can just change straight up the gearbox, but on the way down you need to doubly clutch, ideally whilst pressing the brake. So you need all 3 pedals at once. The handling on these cars is fantastic, beautifully balanced, a top speed of about 100 miles an hour, which in 1930 was pretty impressive. Brakes are very good, Kero shaft operated, great big drums, giving you good retardation. So step into third on quite a small track. You can't really get up to top speed, but just sliding around these corners. This car is raced at the moment. It was racing out last year with the VSCC at Silverstone and Motor Racing Legends. It also raced at the Spa circuit, so still leading quite an active racing career. No safety equipment, no seat belts, no roll cage, so the racing at this level tends to be quite gentlemanly. It's a fairly physical activity, relatively heavy steering, but they are quite light cars, so compared to something like a Bentley, quite a lot less effort required. When racing against the Bentleys, they tend to come past us on the straights and we'll nip round them in the corners. A great sort of David and Goliath type battle. So on the brakes and changing down with the doubly clutching, just sliding it through the corner. Rev limit on this kind of car is about 6,000 RPM. Aston Martin's cars today follow very much in the tradition of a sports car, which you can go racing with at the weekends as well.